All right, this is a list of top 100 Kenyans of the year 2020. We've been doing a series where we've been talking to some of them, and this year we are honored to have Pastor Muriithi Wanjau from Mavuno Church, who's one of our top 100 Kenyans of the year 2020. Pastor, I don't want to keep you long here, so let's start with 2020. What was your highlight for 2020?
Highlight, wow. I think the highlight for 2020 is that as much as it was a difficult year for many people, as much as there were many, many challenges, I think 2020 helped us discover skills and gifts we never knew we had.
Yes.
And we began to do things in ways we never knew. I think if not for 2020, many of us would have just continued doing the same old for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
But I think it caused us to question the status quo and the normal, and to start saying, what's a new normal look like? And I think in the long run, I think that will actually be a very positive thing for all of us.
When we look back.
Yeah.
And again, this year, a lot of people have faced many challenges. There's been so many job losses, and a lot of people have faced a lot of challenges. Some people have fallen sick, others have lost loved ones. And in this difficult times, a lot of people might have started losing faith and maybe saying, maybe God doesn't care about us. What do you have to say to such people?
I think whenever people talk to me about that, and people do ask that a lot,
yes.
I think the key thing for me is to say, look at history. Calamities have happened in the past. It's not the first time. Maybe it's the first in our lifetime at this magnitude,
yes.
but it's happened before. And people came out resilient and they came out stronger. And many times I also say, you know, we talk about the fact that God made us as human beings in charge of this planet. And many times what happens when we mess up the planet, we look at God and we say, where are you, God?
Where are you?
So we talk about climate change, we talk about all these other things that are there, but many times we deny them. And then when the crisis comes, we then blame God for it. And so I just want to say, you know what, God is he's still there. And I think the key thing is just to look at history, learn from history, and then to ask, how do we take our responsibility seriously as stewards over this planet? Yeah.
All right, and you've been a pastor at Mavuno for about 28 years now.
Yes,
and
yes.
it's been quite a journey.
Makes me feel old when you say that. Yeah.
Well, but what would you attribute the success of Mavuno as now one of the biggest ministries in Kenya to?
Mavuno has been a God story for sure. But I think one of our key passions has been to ensure that we are reaching the next generation. Africa has a young generation. 70% of this continent is under the age of 35. They are not the leaders of tomorrow, they're the leaders of today. And I have a strong passion, we have a strong passion to bring God's word to them in ways that are relevant, in ways that make sense, in ways that they understand. And the understanding that religion is not just this opium of the masses, it's not just this thing that is there for you to feel good about, but actually understanding God, understanding your Creator, helps you understand your purpose. When you know your purpose, then you actually live a life of meaning.
Yes.
And many times what happens for us as Africans is because religion is relegated to the spiritual realm, we've not actually understood that it's faith that builds the continents around us. We don't actually see that. And it's people who understood who they are called to be and who lived out that. So I think for me, it's just bringing this word to my generation, bringing this word to our generation that says, understanding who God is helps you understand your purpose. And when you understand your purpose, you build Africa and you build this world to be the place it was created to be.
And speaking of purpose, you came up with the Fearless Summit, which is one of the biggest platforms. I've seen PLO Lumumba speak on one of the events, and it was quite an impactful talk. What was the idea behind it, and how different was it this year?
So Fearless Summit is it's an annual gathering where we bring people who are passionate to ask how faith can actually impact the world. Whether it's in business, whether it's in finance, banking, whether it's in politics, whether it's in education, we want to see people see that their faith can be relevant. Not just Sunday faith, but actually every space. And so we've done it for the last 10 years. It's always been very impactful. We've always had delegates from all over the world. This year we couldn't have it physically, so we did the whole thing digitally. Brilliant. Again, one of those opportunities that COVID brought.
Yes.
We had thousands. I mean, we probably had 10 times our normal audience, and people watching from way across the world. Anywhere you could imagine, we had people watching from. And so I think the impact actually went up higher because of not doing it physically. Yeah.
And you're also a businessman. I've seen you teach in church. There's church for business people, and you talk to a lot of business people in church. When conducting business and while doing business, what would you say is the secret towards succeeding in business and remaining grounded in faith?
Yeah, I think one of the things to realize is that business, we are all in business. Some people say, I'm not in business, I'm employed, but all of us are selling something. All of us are trading something. You may just be trading your time and you're paid for it at the end of the month. So all of us have to learn to be good entrepreneurs and good stewards of what God has given us. So I believe that as business people, one of the things I try to do is help equip business people to understand how to optimize their time, optimize their skill, and understand that, it's only in Africa where we don't have corporations that are generations long. Because when we get money as Africans, you want to show everybody you have it. And I'm speaking generally here. But you want to consume it today, as opposed to having a long-term perspective, which we see in other cultures, where you have generational businesses. All the businesses all the things that we consume today, whether it's banking, whether it's automotive, those are family businesses from other countries that were built, and today we are consuming from them. Why can't we as Africans build our own businesses that will actually go generationally? And so I believe that's one of the reasons I'm an entrepreneur. I'm passionate about business. I don't get supported by the church. I actually volunteer at the church. And part of the reason is because I also want to model and to train my business people and to show that you can actually succeed in business without taking shortcuts, without corruption. You can actually do business well and do it God's way and actually impact and influence people.
And you talk to a lot of young people, and this is at church, and also I believe outside of church. What do you believe is one of the biggest mistakes that young people make?
Young people are, somebody said that youth is wasted on the young people, because what happens is when you're young, you have energy, you have passion, you have strength, but then you think that you'll always have it. And then you grow old and you have wisdom, but now you no longer have the strength. So I think the biggest mistake young people have is that they think they'll be young forever. When you're 20, you look at a 40-year-old, you think that person's about to die. I mean, like, how can you be that old? Not understanding you'll be there tomorrow, much shorter than you think. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is not understanding that you actually need to optimize and use your strength now while you have it, because you'll be creating a resource for the future. So don't live like there's no tomorrow. There is a tomorrow. It's a long tomorrow. So I think I encourage young people to realize, there's a lot of resource passing through your hands. There's a lot of gifts you have. There's a lot of money. Most young people I meet don't know how rich they are. I mean, I suspect you don't know how rich you are. You don't actually understand how much money. If you're to audit yourself at 40 and to look back at how much money you've made your whole life, you could cry. Just not understand, saying, I never knew I had that much cash at my disposal. But because young people often don't understand that, then they squander today, and then tomorrow ends up becoming a crisis for them. Second mistake is that they don't get mentors. They don't spend time with people older than them, because you always think, I'll start my own thing, I don't need to be told, I can succeed. But experience, they say, is a bad teacher, because experience is a painful teacher. When you have to learn through your own experiences, you make so many mistakes. I learned by hanging out with people 10 years older than myself. And I learned from their pain. So I don't have to learn from my experience. I can learn from someone else's experience. And so those are a couple of mistakes that I think if young people would just understand, my goodness, you could go so far. I tell young people, if you're working at 25, there's no reason you can't be retired at 45. No reason, if you're a good steward. It's not about how much money you make. It's what you do with it. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite some advice there. And looking back to this year, as we come to an end, we come to close 2020, what do you think you will remember from this year?
Wow, I think,
well, apart from the pandemic.
Yeah, I think 2020 will always be a year. We'll remember the loss of lives. We'll remember the challenges people face, the loss of jobs. I think this year has been a hard year for many people. But my hope is it'll also be a year when people began to think differently. I'm so passionate about Africa. And my prayer is that this was the year Africans began to dream differently. To realize, we can compete with anybody across the world. There's nothing inferior about being African. In fact, God has made us given us the richest continent in the world. And I feel like this year was a reset. So that, for instance, we're here at Kenyans.co.ke. You guys are a media house that can compete with New York Times. You have the same audience, you have the same gear, and we can actually go one-to-one with anybody across the world and take them on on our own terms. And so my prayer is that 2020 will be remembered as the year when Africa emerged. and especially the next generation began to understand we can actually compete with anybody across the world. We can actually make Africa resilient. We can actually create, I've seen so many people now becoming conscious about being food sufficient. People who are just content to go to the offices in suits. Now they're thinking, I can actually farm. I can actually create resource that was, I had resources lying that I was not using. And my prayer is that this would actually be the beginning of an emergence of a new way of thinking in Africa.
Well, great. And getting into 2021, what are you hoping to achieve in the new year, God willing?
I think 2021 will be the year when we now begin to recoup what COVID really was. None of us understood at the beginning of the year the challenges. I don't think the challenges are over. I think we're going to face massive job losses going forward. And so I feel like 2021 must be the year when we equip our people. I feel like this is going to be the year when we have to really engage in equipping business people, equipping families, equipping marriages, because the challenges will increase, and so helping people become resilient. I really feel like 2021 is that. And then helping people begin to thrive in this new normal. Not waiting, because people have been waiting for, it's like New Year, we'll shout Happy New Year, and then it was a dream. It won't. It's not going to happen, you know? Yeah. So it's almost like, how do we then prepare to help people? Because the new year will have its challenges, but I don't think those challenges should destroy us. I think they should make us tougher, and I think we can come out of them stronger as God's people, as African people, and actually come out with new resources and new ways of thinking that will help us be resilient in the future.
Great. And would you tell us how you felt now being in the list of top 100 Kenyans?
Wow, I thought it was a prank when somebody called me. I thought they were pulling my leg. But it's an honor. I mean, I really feel it's an honor. It's a stewardship. It's a privilege. And I'm very grateful. Yeah, grateful for the nomination.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for coming through and giving us that brief talk on how this year has been. We wish you all the best in the year 2020, and we hope to see you in the next list of top 100 Kenyans.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
All right. So that is Pastor M from Mavuno Church. Thank you for watching this series of Top 100 Kenyans. We'll see you again next year with another list of Top 100 Kenyans. Will you be there? Keep it Kenyans.co.ke to know that.